thinking, I think if I have to relate this to what's happening in Manila. So, I remember playing a 50-over tournament with a mixed team, which is our rival team and MCC put together, which is majority Aussies. And then the rule there was the fines there were to the likes of, if I end up dropping a catch, I'll have to drink a beer from my wicketkeeper's box. It's that gross.
Did you ever have
Luckily,
to do
no,
it?
man.
How many
Luckily,
times did
no.
you?
Luckily, no.
One question is, how many times?
Hello and welcome to the LL podcast. Today we have a bit of sad news. We would like to begin with a second of silence. There it is for Mauka Mauka. So this past Sunday, Pakistan finally defeated us in a World Cup game. And after living a full life of 6 years, our dear friend Mauka Mauka passed away last Sunday due to a park attack, not a heart attack. The other bit of news that we have for you, equally distressing, is that Pakistan have won this year's T20 World Cup, or so it seems, looking at their reaction. But jokes apart, they do seem really like the unit to beat. They've also gone on to defeat New Zealand, who are going to be India's next opponents. So let's talk about New Zealand. But we don't want to talk about the matchup for now, and we'll address that at the end. What we want to begin with is the place New Zealand, right? One introduction which we hear very often, maybe a stereotype, is that New Zealand is actually 4 million people, 40 million sheep. Right. So let's find out if that is true. Let's find out a little more about the cricket culture in New Zealand from our in-house New Zealand expert, Dharam. He stayed here. He stayed in New Zealand rather for a few years. And of course, we have Neeraj and Dhaval on the podcast as usual. So we'll begin with Dharam, and the boys will jump in from time to time. So Dharam, go ahead. Tell us something about the cricket culture in New Zealand. How does it work? Yeah. Do they have a Kanga League where they play in the rainy season?
Yeah, it usually rains. I mean, there's no pattern to rain in New Zealand. It can rain on a sunny day. It can automatically go. Uh, it'll just the dark clouds will just arrive from anywhere because it's an island. Neeraj would know because he lived in the UK as well. The climate is similar. But yeah, I was blessed to live in New Zealand for 2 years. 2 amazing years that I spent there. So when I went to New Zealand, I obviously my prime focus was to find a soccer team, which I found really quickly. But I also wanted to play cricket, and that's when I played leather ball cricket for the first time. So I joined this local club next to my office called Southern Districts Cricket Club, and immediately I noticed that they've got different leagues. So they've got a social league. They've got a 2020 league, they've got a semi-social league, they've got a semi-pro league, and they've got professional league as well, because it's Canterbury division run by Christchurch Metro. Yeah, it was fun. So I initially started playing in the semi-social league, where cricket was taken seriously, but you also had other fun elements like having a beer after the game. That was pretty normal, but the semi-social league was quite unique. They did not have beer after the game. They had beer and their own drinks during the game, and that was like a shock for me, because I went with a very serious mindset. Ke bhai, khelna hai matlab, you give your 100%, hosh mein reh ke khelo. But these guys are like full chillax. So our opener, he's a fantastic player, scores 90s and 100s or whatever easily, and during breaks, he would have his set drink. He would have a gin for himself, and he'd keep drinking gin throughout. So they would break after every 10 overs, and every break he'll have a glass of gin ready, sip on gin, and keep playing. So were the bowlers. They would just have we didn't have umpires, of course, because it was semi-social. So the umpires would actually carry a bottle of drink with them. And the non-striker would just have a sip and keep. So that was semi-social. But because I had a very good first season, they asked me to play the semi-professional division next year. That's when things got serious. That was semi-pro, not even pro. Pro is different level altogether. Pro is Pro is where likes of Ben Stokes would come and play uh, on his off season just for practice. Big players. Um, so semi-pro was really good, and then semi-pro had three formats: T20, a 2-day cricket, and 1-day international. So all the three formats. So you get the flavor of everything throughout the whole season, and it's really unique because uh, cricket in New Zealand would last only for 6 months because it's 6 months of pure winter where you can't do anything. It's just dead set winter, and 6 months of summer. Well, they call it summer, but for us, it's we'll shit in our pants in the summer because it's so windy and cold. Uh, but yeah, the 6 months that the cricket for 6 months is beautifully played there. The grounds are amazing. The infrastructure is amazing. You get one ground for yourself. That was a big cultural shift for me. एक ground पे सिर्फ एक ही टीम खेल रहा है, मतलब दो टीम खेल रहे हैं, एक ही मैच चल रहा है, तो बॉल का टेंशन नहीं है कि कहाँ से बॉल आके लगेगा. So semi-pro is quite serious, where it's a league-based system. So if you win the league, you obviously move to a higher division, right? And they've got about 3 or 4 divisions in semi-pro. But there's this gentleman who was really old, and he was a club legend. So as soon as you get into the clubhouse, you've got a clubhouse, you've got a dressing room for each away team and home team, and you've got a bar in the clubhouse where they sell drinks वगैरह पीने के लिए, just to socialize basically. So as soon as you get into the clubhouse, you see they've got a hall of fame board where they've got pictures of all their ex-cricketers, and kitna wicket kisne liya, who scored a century, double century, blah blah blah. So there's this old gentleman who was still with the club, and apparently he was a club legend. He played in his 80s. He played in 1980s and 90s, represented southern districts. And apparently he was a fast bowler, so he could relate to all of us because, I mean, I was basically a fast bowler too. Fast, matlab apne liye fast nahi, not technically fast. But he used to make sure that he would come to all our senior games and he would score for us. Like, he was in his 80s and he would make sure that he'll come to all our games and do the scoring bit for us. He was genuinely attached to the club, and he was a true mascot for us. And he was very lucky. Whenever he used to come, we used to win, basically. And yeah, I mean, his dedication was so pure and genuine because he could barely walk. He would get his own chair.
Wow.
He would sit.
Wow.
He would get the book, and he'll do the dirty work of scoring. I mean, scoring, sab log bolte hai dirty work, but he would do that because he was genuinely interested and he genuinely loved the club. Apparently, the club was formed in 1929, so it's quite historic. And he played in his prime, and he played professional cricket. So true gentleman, and I got to learn so much from him in terms of, apart from cricket, just the true passion and dedication that he showed at that age. That was a big learning point for me. But yeah, 2 years of pure cricket in New Zealand was absolutely fun. In terms of culture, even semi-pro, you play semi-pro or pro. At the end of the game, both the teams would get together, meet in the clubhouse, have a chat with each other, go to the bar, grab drinks. Buying drinks from the bar would also raise money for the club, and that's how they use it. For the infrastructure development, you can say. But yeah, the main part was after the game was over, you go to your dressing room, win or lose, doesn't matter, you have a chat. And the funny element was fine session. So like, for example, Dhawal bowls a slower ball and gets tonged for a 6. I can fine him, and we set the fines. So we've got a fine master. You set a fine saying $1 का fine लगेगा if you do any चूतियापन. So Dhawal gets spanked for a 6, slow ball डाला, क्यों डाला? $1 देखो. So eventually the mistakes you make, you get maxed out. The maxi is $5, and all the money that is gathered, you either do a Christmas break drinks, or you do an end of year trip. You put all of that money and you go out at the end of the year and you spend all the money on booze and get drunk there. But every club had their own song. Okay? This was another big cultural shift के हर एक क्लब का एक गाना रहता है. So if you win, you have to sing it loud. इतना जोर से गाओ कि अवे टीम के ड्रेसिंग रूम में बैठे हो या होम टीम के ड्रेसिंग में बैठे हो, मेक श्योर दैट दे hear it and you bang the walls.
You guys had dressing rooms?
Yeah, we had dressing rooms.
That's the only question.
Yeah, we had dressing rooms.
I have to relate this to what's happening in Manila. So, I remember playing a 50-over tournament with a mixed team, which is our rival team and MCC put together, which is majority Aussies. And then the rule there was the fines there were to the likes of if I end up dropping a catch, I'll have to drink a beer from my wicketkeeper's box. It's that gross.
Did you ever have to do it?
How many
Luckily,
times?
no. Luckily, no.
Long question, Ishmael. How many times?
Maybe there's a business idea there, selling box flavored beer in Australian club cricket.
This conversation could get really gory if we start discussing.
But Neeraj, what about you? You played university level cricket in the UK.
Yeah, it was fun. The pehli time jab main gaya tha na, I think the culture in itself is what Pape mentioned is unique, right? And we had dressing rooms, unlike when you're playing at the Oval Maidan or the Azad Maidan, udhar sirf tambu hota hai, and you're hiding your privates when you're changing, etc. To having a proper changing room. And funnily enough, a lot of things, right, from a cultural standpoint, the showers don't have cubicles. Everyone showers together without anything. And that was like, I will go home and shower. I cannot do this. And people who've been doing that were so comfortable. Of course, after a season or two, I did get comfortable. But initially, I was like, whoa. So
Neeraj is like, if there are no intra-gender matches, I am not doing the showering thing. I am doing this, bro.
come this day and age, gender is a very fluid concept, so it could have got very complicated. But the culture aspect, like the fines and the university, and I recollect a few incidences where I till date I love my sleep, right? So there was a game where we were playing Durham from Manchester, so we had to literally drive for 2 hours and then play the game. And I was up till 3 or 4, university life of chilling, and I could not get up on time. And my captain,
I love the smile on Neeraj's face when he said 3 or 4, pretending as if he didn't have a nice
possibly
memory.
5 or 6 or 7. I don't know.
He didn't have a nice memory to go with it. You have to do it sometimes. Go on.
That is university life, right? And age, right? You could do all of that when you were bloody 20. You can't do that now.
No.
Wait, you don't do this anymore?
Says somebody who has sugar. Sorry, I had to bring this up.
No, Dhaval's still doing it. The only difference is he's now waking up at 6 a.m. as against
Exactly.
going to sleep at 6 a.m.
So my captain is calling me, and again, the name is Neeraj, right? But a lot of this, like, Neeraj, where are you? And I'm like waking up from my sleep saying, I'm on my way. And he clearly knew I was lying, right? It's like, what dorm are you staying in? Tell me, I will come pick you up. So the whole team came and picked me up because I was late. Of course, I was fined for it. And while on the way, I hadn't completed my sleep. So I was sleeping on the way. I got fined for that as well. Thankfully, I bowled decently in that game. So no more fines on the ground, but off ground, all of this is captured. And that is what makes it so unique in terms of the culture of how you bond with your team. And I remember one other instance. You've seen an old movie called Edward Scissorhands.
Yep.
Yeah. So there is a concept, at least in university, what used to be over a decade ago, where people who are watching the match would be Edward Cider Hands. I'll explain what it is. You get 2 liters of cider in a plastic bottle, which is taped to your hands, And while you're watching as a spectator, as a university kid, you're supposed to finish that 4 liters of beer. And if you had to go pee in the middle, you
Oh
do
my
whatever,
God.
however you want. And that was like, of course, 7 8 lads would participate in it, and whosoever finishes the maximum amount of beer wins. So
But
all these
what is the
sorry,
prize for winning? What's the prize for winning? What do you get?
you
You
get
get to
Question.
smashed,
pee.
you have a fun
You
time.
just get to pee at the end.
Yeah.
That's the prize. You pee.
You get smashed and you get have a fun time, right? But all these stories were so unique because never experience any of these when you're playing in Mumbai. So yeah, it's fantastic. I wish I could go play cricket back in Manchester and even at club level. What all Dharam mentioned, that I worked behind the bar in my club to get some money while I didn't have a job, while I continued to play cricket as well. So it's a small family in itself, and you continue the tradition.
Also sounds like Indian taking away jobs from the other people. Yeah, okay, all right, fine.
I was gonna say one thing I miss the most, right? When Dharam said different clubs had different songs in Manchester, at the Manchester Premier League, different clubs had different teas, or the break in which used to start playing at about 1 o'clock, and we used to break at 5. So though it was lunch for us, but it was tea, and each club had its own unique tea. So we knew which club serves amazing food. So we used to look forward to playing there compared to a particular club where we knew that the tea is not going to be that great. So we used to carry food with us.
Did you carry theplas? Because that would be the ultimate Guju thing to do.
When I used to come back from India, when I had the stock of them, yes.
Funnily enough, you mentioned being late and then falling asleep on the bus. You know what happened to people in our school who fell asleep on bus rides? They got toothpaste on their unmentionables.
Yeah.
Oh no, not here. This is going, taking it easy. But tell us more. Pape, would you say that who's the current greatest New Zealand cricketer? Would it be Ben Stokes?
Oh, they would love for Ben Stokes to be one of their best. They actually went crazy when he. Do you remember his scene when he was banned by the England board for a brawl?
He trained with the county side.
Yeah. So he came back because he's a Christchurch boy. He came back and he trained with one of the local clubs there, which happens to be a rival club. So we're heading back home after training, and everybody spreads the news that Ben Stokes is just on the ground next to you training. Like, wow, kya baat kar raha hai, Ben Stokes hai. So we all went there, and he was there for the seniors training, really, really hammering the bowlers. I think मजे के लिए आया रहेगा because he had a Canterbury game. He was already selected for Canterbury, and he was waiting for his ban to be lifted so he could join England's team in Australia. So he played a couple of games for Canterbury and really hammered them. But it was amazing watching Ben Stokes bowl. What a lean figure, man! Amazing.
How did you react every time he played a shot? Did you go like, "Wow, Ben Stokes"?
Wow, Ben Stokes.
And he's turning on the pitch going like, can you stop abusing me? Like, enough. I have played enough IPL now to understand what that means. And I'm also on Twitter.
No, I think Pape was still continuing, right? So Pape, I think the follow-up should be, so you already mentioned about Ben Stokes. I think then your league game that you were coincidentally playing with a big cricketer, right?
So when I initially was looking for a team in New Zealand to play actual outdoor leather ball cricket, I was called by Nazneen's uni friend. He just told me, "Hey, indoor game खेलेगा क्या?" मैं indoor क्या होता है? I don't know anything about indoor game. I said, indoor games होता भी है क्या? He's like, yeah, it's just 100 balls. Nets रहता है आसपास, and if you hit straight, you get 6, 4. I was like, okay, chalo, let's try. So I asked him who's the opponent. He's like, old Truckies. I was like, okay, old Truckies, dekhte kya. And they never played indoor cricket. The indoor cricket ball is totally different. It's lighter. Again, a two-piece ball, swings a lot. So the other blokes were like, "Arey, easy team hai, old truckies, must be old guys, we'll beat them." It's like, okay, dekhte jaake. Little did we know that old truckies had Chris Harris, the New Zealand legendary bat
Wow.
all-rounder. So we went into the stadium, and I immediately told them, "This guy looks familiar. Who is he?" So they're like, "Oh yeah, he's Chris Harris." I was like, "Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's a legend. He's a New Zealand legend. What is he doing here?" He's like, he plays for the Old Truckers. Like, what? Are we gonna play them? Then they're like, "Yeah." And then I told him, in what normal sense did you think that this will be an easy game? But anyways, we played with them. You play with Chris Harris, but his mates were equally good, man. They pumped us. Absolutely. We I think everybody bowled. So we had around 6 players, all of them bowled. I don't remember a single guy beating his bat or getting an outside edge or whatever. He middled each and every delivery. And he scored fours, six. He was just dealing in fours and sixes. And we were like, we could just see the balls flying. But then he bowled as well, and he was swinging a mile. But so that was an amazing experience, playing with Chris Harris. And later I got to know that he was playing for Sydenham, which is Ben Stokes' club, and he played a couple of seasons for Sydenham in the professional league. Obviously, he won the com, and then he retired and he went out of it. Apparently, he was, I don't know, I'm not sure if this is true. He was driving trucks as well. So those were his mates driving trucks.
Is he available for playing gully cricket? I mean, I have a team with a vacancy. We play on turf. I mean, we're horrible, but we can accommodate him.
I'm sure he'll be way good at it. But
Why?
this is the beauty about New Zealand ex-cricketers. They are, no matter how much they've played for their country, they're called legends, but they go on and live a normal life. Like I heard Stephen Fleming works in finance in Auckland for a finance-based company when he's not on his IPL duty.
He
Chris
looks like a
Harris, I don't know.
CEO, right?
Yeah. So it's really amazing to know that they live such a low-key life and they mingle around with people, play with clubs, and play a friendly game, or just come down, watch a semi-professional game or a professional game, say hi, or maybe even umpire. Who knows?
Yeah, that's next to impossible in India. Like, imagine turning up for a game and finding Zahir Khan playing there. Like, Zahir Khan's just playing with some Baroda Tigers or something. That's not gonna happen. That's not happening
हाँ
here.
तू थर्ड मैन पे खड़ा रहे, तू थर्ड मैन पे खड़ा रहे, आज तेरे को बॉलिंग नहीं मिलेगा. You can't do that in India.
You will not find Zahir Khan in his state game. Forget some random game.
If I may digress, we spoke about Chris Harris now as a gully cricketer. Again, it's a question for everyone. Who do you think will make a very good gully cricketer, an international cricketer who you think will be absolute legend in gully cricket?
I'd go for Dhoni. Street smart beyond compare. I just think he in gully cricket very often you have one side which is completely open, the other side is blocked. Dhoni will be a master at exploiting stuff like that, right? He just too good. And funnily enough, since you mentioned that, when we used to play, right, growing up, these small, what I would pretty much call, like chichora type harkate of putting the hand out and stumping someone, or looking here and throwing the ball at the stumps. You only saw this in gully cricket. Dhoni took it to international cricket, right? Wherein the throw is coming to him and he's just doing this, right? Flicking the ball onto the stumps. I would think he would make an insanely difficult to defeat gully cricketer.
Add his commentary, which we'll hopefully do an episode on. Shishan, udhar girlfriend nahi khadi hai teri, idhar aa. You would hear that in gully cricket quite a bit.
And when there are no mics, that commentary will be even better.
Oh yes.
Sorry, I think two Aussies also. I think two Aussies also come to light, and this is again typically imagining gully cricket, and you'd always have like one bowler that you'll not be able to play, and you'll always have this one batsman that will hammer you everywhere. So I think that batsman for me would be gilly, meaning आके आके मारेगा, कड़क मारेगा, हाथ डालेगा तो भी हाथ निकाल दे. And
What
and
we
and
would call
and
typically Ada Patta, right? He will
I
hit
know.
you wherever he wants.
तो what Dhawan says, right? Sorry, जब मारते हैं तो हाथ निकल जाते हैं ना, उसको गली लैंग्वेज में गोली की तरह गया है वो, तो गोली की जैसी जाएगा तो हाथ हटा देंगे हम लोग.
Oh, you mean like a tracer bullet?
Tracer bullet. Yeah, go on, Dhawan.
And I think Warney could be another. Warney could be that spinner who always has something
sure.
with him.
For sure. Warney for sure, yeah. And yeah, Gilly definitely seems like that one guy जिसको तू leg पे ball डालेगा तो भी वो off पे देखो मार रहा है. He definitely comes across as that guy.
और ये सब का कैप्टन अपना क्लासी सौरव गांगुली दादा.
No. Actually, it's better. It makes a lot of sense. वो बोलेगा बैटिंग हो गया, फील्डिंग नहीं करेगा मैं. मेरा गली, my rules. I am not going to field. नहीं करना है.
और ये पंटर सब लोग को कंट्रोल रखने के लिए you need a big dada anyway.
Tell me what is it, right? Kane Williamson and what McCallum did, right? Playing a brand of cricket that is not in your face. Right? That is not abusive. That's almost devoid of banter as well, right? And you see now the New Zealand team pretty much setting the benchmark for playing in the spirit of cricket. Is that how it is in their clubs as well, or that's a change that was actually triggered by someone like a Brendan McCullum? I remember you telling me that he is a guy who has a picture in every club in New Zealand. How big is his impact?
Yeah, so Brendan McCullum is basically celebrated at every club. You walk into any club in New Zealand, or most of the clubs in New Zealand, and you will see a portrait of Brendan McCullum and the 300 that he scored against India in Wellington in 2014. So after that, his stature and his aura really jumped up because he was the first one to do it. And obviously he got the tag of being a legend, and he's regarded as a true servant in New Zealand cricket. But in terms of personality and in terms of in terms of their attitude, they're called as the good guys, and it's absolutely true, because if you look at Kane Williamson, he's so soft-spoken. He's such a gentle and a humble guy. That's how New Zealand people are. I've not met a single loudmouthed Kiwi who would give it back to you. Everybody that I've met are really humble, gentle souls, and they're beautiful people. And the cricketers, whatever they show, that's actually New Zealand and New Zealand people for you.
That is lovely. Imagine a captain from any other country in Kane Williamson's place in the 2019 final. Right? Every captain, at least currently going around, would have come out and said, we were the winners of that final. Kane Williamson actually got a standing ovation from the press because he did not say anything controversial, and he actually congratulated England on winning. I'll forget any other captains. I think any of us would have said, hang on, we won that. We were wronged in that final of a World Cup, right? So I think he's set an amazing example, following on or taking on from where McCullum left, right? Which is fantastic, and I think you telling us that that's pretty much how a lot of the New Zealand population is as well is great to hear.
If this doesn't get us sponsors from New Zealand, I don't know what will.
We're going to wrap this episode up with quick predictions for India, New Zealand, and the players to watch out for. Let's begin with Neeraj. Neeraj, your prediction for the game and who you think are the players to watch out for.
The mind says New Zealand, heart says India. So I'm on the fence.
My prediction obviously is India will fight back, and unfortunately for New Zealand, will fight back really hard. No mocha for New Zealand for sure. And this is my cue for Kohli and Co. Is that the players to watch out would be A. Shardul Thakur, and we are Ashwin.
My mind and heart both say India.
All right, so there you have it. Three Indian boys suggesting all that India are going to win. So we are a completely objective podcast, as the prediction clearly shows. Today, this is adios from me, from Neeraj, Dharam, and Dhaval. Thank you.